Hi, this is Scott Fresener doing a final full SGIA 2011 New Orleans show report. This is the last day of the show. You know, every year I come to SGIA to see what's new and to see if garment screen printing as we know it is alive and well at SGIA. With the show being so large and very much digital, it's hard to know at what point it becomes less and less viable. This year was no exception. The show had the usual group of non-t-shirt exhibitors like HP, Epson, Fuji, Agfa, and others. And if you walked the show, you had to hunt around for anything to do with t-shirts. But SGI has done a nice job of trying to pull all the garment decorators and processes into a common location. There was a large group of key industry manufacturers and suppliers exhibiting their latest products. This year, the show repeated what they started last year with the digital apparel production zone and the screen printed apparel production zone on the show floor. These are sections of the show where you can look at equipment in a non-sales area and not feel the pressure to buy. The digital apparel zone is pretty much a large area with all the machines side by side, but as far as I could see, there were no show floor seminars going on. Frankly, at times, these guys seemed a little lonely. The screen-printed apparel zone is smaller and it had regularly scheduled seminars with speakers like Lon Winters. I will say that unlike last year, this year the seminar crowd seems smaller, and it felt like this zone was also a little bit smaller. But at any given time, you could walk by this area and there was some sort of free presentation. I'm not sure why the digital zone didn't do this. What was new was the Stahl's heat printing seminar area, which is right off of the other zone areas. I think it was the first to have a supplier have their own captive area, and my guess is Stahl's paid for this section of the show. They had good crowds and almost non-stop seminars and a lot of open forums. One time I was there and they were polling the audience to tell us what you want us to do or what we can do to help you. It was a nice touch, and hats off to Ted Stahl and company for putting this together. What was interesting is that the section of the show where most of the garment activity was didn't seem packed, and frankly you saw a lot of exhibitors standing around. When you see exhibitors talking to other exhibitors, that's not a good sign. But you know what, that was very deceiving. I talked to a number of exhibitors who commented it was the best-selling show in years. People were spending money and it appeared everybody was happy. Just because the show floor isn't crowded doesn't mean it's a bad show. From what I heard, SGIA brought in quality buyers who were spending money. Good job, SGIA. So what was new? The truth is, on the screen print side, not much. There were a few new machines. Lawson introduced their new direct-to-screen machine. I had a nice interview with David Landesman that you should catch. Their new machine is priced really competitively, and it'll image a coded screen in under 2 minutes. All-American Screen was showing a very fast machine for printing shirt tags, sleeve prints, heart prints, or anything with a small print area. Check out my interview and see the machine in action with Peter Choi. This thing was fast. Again, on the screen print side, what was obvious was the absence of some of the key players. M&R isn't here as an exhibitor. Workhorse isn't here. Union Inc., Rutland, Wilflex aren't here. But these companies are all represented through their dealers. M&R has the equipment in the Graphic Solutions booth, and the Inc. guys were hanging with their dealers. Of course, as I know, it's very expensive to exhibit at a show, and frankly, I don't blame them for not wanting to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars when you really aren't sure where the industry's at and where the economy's at. On the direct side, there were some new toys. Steve Richardson of DTG had his new M2 printer at the Cole Desi booth. It uses a non-Epson printhead, which is interesting for most people, and it's pretty fast. Anajet had a very similar machine that they rolled out earlier at the Long Beach NBM show. And Brother brought out a new machine, but it was odd that they had it in a roped-off area with kind of a fake bouncer. You had to pretty much be worthy to get in to see it, and no, I did not get too close to it. Lawson has their new redesigned DTG machine, and it's faster, and they lowered the price to be more competitive. Of course, Kornit has the largest booth with direct-to-garment machines, and they're showing their new baby that they're calling a dual-carriage printer, where it prints 2 shirts simultaneously. It's pretty fast, and of course, they had a huge crowd every time I went by. The Golden Images area seems smaller this year, but I don't know if the entry count was down or not. I thought the t-shirt section had less entries. The student competition area has some great work. Of course, there were some outstanding prints from commercial garment decorators, as usual. I'm a member of the Academy of Screen Print Technology, and we had our yearly dinner business meeting on Wednesday. There are about 30 members there and some nice presentations. Each year, the Academy chooses a Best in Show for garments and graphics from the gold winners. This year, the Best in Show for garments went to Taran Printworks for their outstanding high-density latent image print. These guys have won many times in the past, and they have the process nailed. The print was pretty amazing. You got to see 3 different images depending on what angle you looked at the print. Of course, New Orleans never disappoints if you want a good time. My wife Pat is here along with Mike Fresener and his wife Vicky. We closed the French Quarter 2 nights in a row and heard some really hot bands. Mike even sat in with one and played a little blues harp. We also saw a great entertainer named Rooster at 2 different clubs. A fun time was had by all. And of course, we could not help but bump into people we knew all night long. So how do I rate the show? If you asked me that question the first day, I would have said slow. But things picked up, and even though the garment guys weren't slammed, they were seeing a lot of quality buyers spending money. Next year, the show goes back to Vegas, and that's where it should be. It brings in more attendees in Vegas, and it gets a lot more foreign visitors. Congratulations to SGIA for putting on another great event. Scott Fresener for t-biz TV, t-biz Network, signing off from beautiful New Orleans.